So for the recording, welcome back. This is Arya Nagarjuna Investigators, October 15, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing us in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much we would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Studying karma and emptiness, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite us to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And with that intention, turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that, show us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers, the great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in sharing in this investigation and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in this investigation and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in sharing in this investigation and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other.
Rilema, would you say that Nagarjuna is like the foundation for learning Mahamudra and Pogjimpa?
In what sense? In what sense do you mean?
In what sense?
Yeah,
I mean, identifying how things arise, and in the sense that, I mean, the idea that I get when I'm doing the meditations is that I wouldn't have reached that aha if I wouldn't have studied before Nagarjuna.
yeah,
In
yeah,
that sense, I mean,
yeah,
specifically, I'm pointing out a certain verse of Nagarjuna, or I can't. But the
right,
aha that I get with both
yeah,
is that I wouldn't have landed there if it weren't for Nagarjuna.
yes, yes. That's very astute in that where the art the the struggling with the intellectual understandings of what's meant by the words emptiness and dependent origination, it's not working in such a way that we actually come to a more clear cognitive understanding. The struggle is planting seeds that can ripen as an experience of a more clear understanding. And so you're absolutely right. We could do Mahayana meditation or Mahamudra meditation practice, not having learned anything intellectually about emptiness. And the Mahamudra like may not do anything beyond reaching that place of awareness. And it won't itself trigger some aha about not existing in any other way than seeds ripening. So by knowing the punchline, those seeds come through when we're doing anything else as well. So to recognize how your Mahamudra practice gets infused with your Nagarjuna investigations, which gets infused with our Tonglen practice, our compassion, that's infused with our Nagarjuna, that's right, all of them are coloring our being, coloring our mind. that that we can't get away from it, right? We don't want to get away from it, but it's influencing us in that way. And so I love that you brought it up. When we were studying all of this, there was a group that was fortunate enough to be able to take both the book Jimpa classes and the Diamond Way classes. And Lama Christie always matched what we were studying in book Jimpa somehow with what we were studying in the Diamond Way as well. And I always felt like the people in Tantra class that weren't getting book Jimpa, I I felt sorry for them, because it's like my Tantra training was so much richer because of what I was learning in Lama Christie's classes that I just felt like, could these other folks be getting it in the same way? And of course, they were getting it very deeply from their own side. But, and the beauty with the book Jimpa was it felt weird to me because we do Kamala Shila, and then we do a course in Nagarjuna, and then we do Mahamudra. We didn't like finish it and move on, finish it. It was more like in college, right? You took English class and math class, and you had all these different classes going on at one time. And it was like that too. I found it like I wanted to finish something. But now I see why she did that, because all of them fed into each other. And so, right, the fact that you guys are studying this class and that class and that class, it's coming together for you in a deeper way than if you, right, if you were limiting to just one
That's,
course series or something. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
how I
love that
feel.
you recognize it.
Thank you to Holy Lama. Just my deep appreciation because
Yeah.
it's like definitely it is coming together.
Yeah, nice.
Thank
Nice.
you.
And it takes time to get there, doesn't
Oh,
it?
oh yes.
Like, I mean, we've been at this for a while.
I have 10 years studying almost daily with you, dear Lama.
Yeah.
So,
All righty. So let's see what we can come up with. We've got chapter 14 and 15 to go, and then I'm out of material for you. Get this out of the way. Get us a little bit out of the way. I have the share going, right? Do you see the opening? Can you see it all the way to the edge? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, because mine's blocked. So Joanna, you were our first up today. Will you offer us the opening, please?
Thank you. Here I have made a song for you on the very root of the middle way, which I call wisdom. In the language of India, this text is called Prajna Nama Mula Madhyamaka Karika. In the language of Tibet, it is known as Uma Tsawe Tsiklo Shepa Sharap. In English, we call it wisdom, a song on the root of the middle way. I bow down to Manjushri, the glorious gentle voice, in his guise as a teenage boy.
And I got myself mixed up here. Okay, Roxana, please, 1.1.
yes, thank you. I bow to the highest of teachers, to the fully enlightened one, who teaches us to reach that peace where our fantasies about how things exist are put to a final rest.
And Jan at 1.2.
I bow to the one who taught us that things happen in dependence. Nothing ends and nothing begins. Nothing stops, but nothing ever lasts forever. Nothing comes and nothing goes. No two things are different, nor are any two the same.
Go. C 1.3.
Teacher Lama. Nothing grows from itself, nothing grows from something else, nothing grows from both, and nothing grows without a cause. There is nothing at all that grows at all.
Not at all, at all.
Not from how we look at it.
Yeah, not the way it seems. So then the first chapter was what? Anybody remember? 1.4 gives it away. Yeah, what are all those causes? Ordinary, worldly causes for things. Nagarjuna says, let's look at them all. And remember, he went through all these different reasons why the things we think are causes can't be causes, and us experience them in the way that we do. Like maybe they are causes, but then we would have to experience them differently than we do. So it's really not just theoretical. It's based on how do you explain the fact that when that boss yells at me, I get upset, but my friend doesn't. But wait, if the boss was yelling at them, they would get upset. But maybe they don't, maybe they do. Right? Maybe the boss yells at me for one thing and I do that same thing 3 days later and they don't yell at me. Like really the way things work in life are inconsistent and crazy. And yet we make some reason for why it still works in the same old way. Even when it doesn't work in the same old way, you get it. And so at the end of that chapter, he goes, so see, worldly causes have no nature. And our Kachik goes, here's, they don't exist at all. Do worldly causes exist? Yeah, if I plant a tomato seed and I give it the right conditions, I'm going to get a tomato plant. Worldly causes effect does happen. Does it happen in the way we think it happens? No. But it does happen. But we here, they have no natures. And our ignorance interprets that as mean not at all. And that's seems to be the gist of this whole book is Nagarjuna knows how our mind hears the conclusion, right? And intellectually we get it, but whatever that is deeper down, our Kachik goes, no. Especially when he gets to the part where it sounds like he's saying our me has no nature. So still, like, check your own mind. There is no nature to you at all. Like, is your reaction, right? No, I do so have my own nature because I'm not you and I'm not a tree. I am me. I am unique to me. Don't tell me I don't have a nature of my own, right? We should come out fighting. So chapter. Yeah, Nagarjuna. Yeah, we get it. No nature at all. What? Right? And then we go into the next chapter. So we got all the way to chapter through 14 last week. All right, I need to change the share. Do we see it? Do we see 14?
Yes, we do.
That's what we did last week, wasn't it? Was 14. His opening line for 14, take the triad of seen, seeing, and see-er. Neither all three nor any pair of them could ever touch each other. How do we get there? From chapter 13, anybody remember? We were on this sequence of me, the one who desires the thing I desire, and the trigger that makes the desire. And we have looked at each one of those individually and come to the conclusion, yeah, they don't have any nature. And then our kachik would come up again and we'd start all over. And so this chapter, Lama Christie pointed out, was that we had said, well, what about pain? You know, what is it that actually, who makes the pain? Who makes the suffering? And then when we came to the conclusion that, you know, there's no nature to who makes the suffering, we said, yeah, but that something triggers in me a pain, or something triggers in me a pleasure. And how could that happen if there's no me, or there's no thing, or there's no way in which the thing and I interact? I have to interact with something that then triggers the pleasure. And so he looks again at how it is that subjects, objects, and the experience between them can be related. And he says, let's look to see how that works. Do you have to have all three happening at the same time? Or can you have any two of them that makes the third? You know, and if there's a relationship between this and that, they have to be able to contact in some way, don't they? In order for the key to start the car, the key has to touch the car in some way. And that means the key has to be there and the car has to be there. And then they have to touch. And how can that be? Right? So that was chapter 14, taking us all the way through looking at that process. But in particular, in the triad, the three spheres of desire, desiring, and desired, what has to happen that triggers the desire for the triple berry pie? Right? And he goes into the argument for how can they actually contact? Like what does the triggering of the desire? What does the triggering of the urge to act in a certain way? If it takes me and the triple berry pie, they have to be separate things, don't they? Otherwise, I'd be berry pie. Or berry pie would be me. But then if I'm already berry pie, like, why would I ever want berry pie? I would have it all the time. But how can it be there separate from me to trigger a desire in me that I didn't have before? if it's not a thing there. It has to be a thing there. But it can't be the thing that triggers the desire until the desire has been triggered, right? And if the triple berry pie sitting on the counter and I'm over here and there's no desire for the triple berry pie, but the triple berry pie is there, it can't be the triple berry pie that triggers the desire because it's there all the time. No, I have to see it first. So he says these things, the desirer, the desired, and the desiring, they all depend upon each other. Right? And he goes into that Dr. Seuss sequence about others. If other is something other than the other, then you can't have one without the other. And since we can't have another without another, it's just impossible. Right? This and that can't ever come together. One thing could never touch another. And just as touching could never be neither toucher, nor touched could ever exist. So what's going on when we touch each other through Zoom to do this class? Like we know the punchline, right? Seeds ripening, seeds ripening, seeds ripening. But when we even think that seeds ripening, like honestly, I still feel this sensation that I'm outside that and the seeds ripening are happening and everything is still out there coming at me. Like even as I know it's seeds ripening, I'm still experiencing it this way. What class was it about the demon of ignorance reasserts itself? Mahamudra class, right? You come out of meditation and bloop, it's all coming at us again.
I liked it. It's the first time that I hear you address it as the demon of ignorance.
Yeah, that's a great term.
It is. I guess if we address it like as a demon, we
Yeah,
would be at least more aware of it.
yeah,
Because we're so familiar with the word ignorance,
yeah.
at least I am,
Uh-huh.
that if I would add like that factor,
Right,
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 it's beat it,
exactly. It's something a little more tangible, right?
right.
I don't know. Seems like it could give us scary dreams. But so what does Kachik say? Wait, how did I get back up here? So chapter 14, an investigation of touching, not meaning like this, right? But meaning how is it that those three spheres interact? How do we think they're interacting and how is that impossible? And so how do they really interact?
Well, in
Things
order
appear
to be a
touch.
desirer, you
Yeah.
need an object to desire.
Right,
And you need the intrinsic interaction in between
right,
to play it and to make the karma.
right,
If one of those components is not there, then you're not making anything. You need necessarily the three of them.
right, right. It's the three of them together that even makes me the desirer, that triggers the desire. The desire isn't triggered first and then I go get the thing. Seems like it.
And the same applies with walking, stepping, with everything, absolutely everything. It's the same
Right.
analogy.
It's all arising moment by moment, all simultaneously, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
simultaneously, in words class, there was a debate between simultaneously
Uh-huh.
or not simultaneously. I mean,
Right. When things have their own natures, things cannot happen simultaneously. When things have no nature, for anything to happen at all, there has to be simultaneous subject-object interaction between. There can't be anything else because you can't have one without the other.
simultaneously, it's June suddenly, right?
Right, mutually arising.
Mutually arising. It's just that somehow in my mind, I thought you were saying simultaneously,
Uh-huh.
like there cannot be happening at the same time. I mean,
Simultaneous means they are all happening at the same time.
right, right. But I don't know why I got
Uh,
confused with the term in Spanish and in English.
okay.
That's why. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying, Gerlama.
Yeah. But even as I hear myself say, oh, they're all happening at the same time, those words are wrong, right? Because it's not that three things are happening at the same time. It's that one thing is happening and I'm interpreting it as three things. Like mutual arising is one thing, isn't it? One thing with three parts, subject-object interaction between. So could you really say that things are simultaneously arising? No, there's only one thing. But no, there can't be just one thing, because then no karma would happen, right? Slippery.
But in this case, we would have to think of things arising simultaneously with our eight consciousness.
Right?
Can we
So
say
do
that?
all eight consciousnesses arise all at the same time? Is that what we're saying?
Until I'm aware of one. I mean,
Right. So when we're aware of one, does that mean there isn't the other?
no, there are the other ones, but I mean, consciously aware. I think that's what it means, consciously aware.
Yeah, but so if we're not consciously aware, how do we
They're still
establish that the
ripening.
other one's there?
They're ripening, but I'm not, I don't have, I'm not omniscient. I'm not aware of of
Right.
everything that is arising.
Right. So I can't be aware of my eye consciousness and be aware of my ear consciousness at the same time. It seems like we can. We can be watching a symphony and listening to the symphony, and we're doing it at the same time, but technically, the experience is eye consciousness, ear consciousness, right? There's the flipping 64 per instant because those are separate consciousnesses. Yeah.
So it's
All
like,
somehow held within that great foundation consciousness, right?
right. So it's like
That's a thing
sipping,
unto
tasting.
itself from.
Yeah. It would be a nice thing to take a dive into that foundation consciousness and see what's there.
No need to go anywhere, just experience. That's what's there.
But there's so much more there.
How do you establish that?
Well, I mean, if I think of past lives,
But that's just a current moment experience of thinking of past lives.
but when we think about foundation consciousness of a store, I mean storage place,
Yeah.
it's like For me, it's like going into a closet that you've never
Yeah.
been before and see what
Mhm.
treasures you can find there.
Right.
And maybe I
They're
would find
sitting there.
something really special. And then
Right.
I would just take the dust out of it
Yeah.
and polish it more and just, woo, I don't know, I could do something really nice with it. It's
Yeah.
an attribute that you have stored there that it hasn't ripened yet.
Yeah. Right.
I feel like it's
And it's
something like,
there all by itself,
I know,
waiting
but
for us to
something
go and
magical
find
that you
it.
would find there, that it's just there, just waiting for you to discover it.
Right. Which would only be there as the current moment ripening
Right, definitely.
of
You're right.
subject-object interaction between. You don't need a refrigerator where it's stored. You just need to be in that moment where there it's ripening.
Okay, got it.
So there is a refrigerator there when it ripens.
When it ripens,
To
definitely.
believe there's a refrigerator there.
Yeah,
It is a fun debate.
it is.
That's predicated on the belief that things that function have to have some nature of their own. And if they have some nature of their own, they need a place to be stored. Because things that function can't just be projections. Because deep down in the belief of just projections, we're thinking things are less real. And less than real things can't do stuff. That's like the premise in my understanding of the difference between a functionalist school, either Hinayana or Mahayana, and a school that understands that function too is mutual, is profound dependence. And to me, that's the difference between mind only and prasangika. Is prasangika level, we don't need function to have its own nature. And I could be wrong, but that's right. That's the sequence that I understand that takes us through the 6 levels of understanding dependent origination and emptiness is the extent to which we can understand that function is also empty of self-nature. Yes, Janet.
So I'm in the position where I have people smarter than me, right? That I can kind of like observe them for credibility. And then the people above me really don't have people above. They have a few, but not that many. And in the case of my Ne Lama, I don't think he has anybody. I mean, he's very, very few. And if it's true that we have this power, so my Ne Lama has been fixing his house, and he doesn't work on his automatic music program that involves no people. And he knows he only has so much time left. So it's coming from my side that I see him with these quote unquote distractions, and he doesn't finish the projects or he doesn't finish his main project. He does these house projects. But I want to solve it in an ordinary way. Why don't I like sell an asset and give him the money? But really the challenge is to do it in the ultimate way. Why do I see him that way? So isolated. But the thing is, if I really have that power, right? If I have the power to change things the way I see them, isn't that dangerous? Like, couldn't I do something really bad with it?
Yes.
And then I
Yes.
don't want to go there because I don't really trust myself. And
Right.
I'd rather see these people that are smarter, like kind of go there because like my Ne Lama can make very functional decisions, and he wouldn't make a decision on a romantic notion, whereas I would. So is it this romantic notion that I'm the one that would be able to change something? I mean, it's just like, do we really want to go there? At the level that we're at, do we really want to go there?
Right. 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 because the personal responsibility, right? First of all, do we really want personal responsibility? That's a heavy load. And then, as you say, if we are ripening the seeds where we do have this power to reach into the matrix and manipulate things. Like we were talking about that in some class recently.
Yesterday.
And we still had the selfishness component, that what we would be wanting, like our ability to reach into the matrix and manipulate things, what we would do with that would be based on what we want. What I want. And I could easily fool myself into thinking, well, what I want is best for everybody. But it isn't necessarily, right? So we could abuse that power to manipulate our outer world into using it for our own gain. And that is the danger. Because that, of course, the karmic result of that is that we lose the power. Right? Not really that we lose the power, but the results of having the power come back to us as unpleasant things. Right? So we reap the karma of having used it for our own personal gain. So until we're at the place where it would no longer occur to us to manipulate our reality for our own benefit, we tend to not actually be able to reach that place where we can actually do it. Like there's some kind of safety mechanism that our own karmic seeds use to prevent us from actually going there for most of us. And it's, I would posit that that factor is morality, right? That we get trained in morality. We understand the process through which morality arises, the need for morality arises. What I see myself doing is going to come back to me. And then when we've really gotten to that place where we know that that determines our experiences, then we have this careful or this strong quality of those two factors of notsa and tralya, right? The notsa being the self-conscientiousness that keeps me from doing a harmful deed, even if nobody would ever know. And the tralya, the healthy concern of my impact on others. Like those two states of mind are what protect us from using our powers in a way that would override somebody else, to use other people. But so we're in a system that builds in protections, but technically we could have the seeds ripen to be able to get into that space of being able to manipulate things and then abuse it. It is dangerous, very dangerous. Tantra is dangerous in that way. We can have seeds for powerful, effective, fast Tantra practice and abuse it. And we wouldn't even be aware that we were abusing it. Right? We would be saying, no, I'm just a really powerful Tantrika, so I can do anything I want. Because I am already the enlightened being, I know what's best, right? Totally misguided. It is what this taught. But if we're not so steeped in the foundational morality before we go into Diamond Way becomes a really dangerous process for that very reason, Janet, that you bring up. Right? We become ultimately powerful when we understand seeds.
My Ne Lama's always complaining that I'm saying wrong things. Like he was cleaning he recocked his shower and he was using bleach to take off the lime. And I said, why are you using chlorine? And he said, it doesn't have chlorine, which is true. It's sodium chlorine. It like the chlorine gets released once you use it. He's a scientist, and I think you're married to a scientist. You know what I'm going through.
I do.
But the point I didn't make to him was if you have something alkaline, which is lime, why would you use something that wasn't an acid to take it off? You
Right.
would use an acid. I didn't say it that way. So there's just some problem with my communication where I'm talking about wrong things and then he's getting me on the details. And I don't seem to have my thoughts really organized, but it comes across like I, the ignorant person, am criticizing the person who's the scientist. And he believes science rules. He believes that there's this like this sequence of things, and he believes that that he's surrounded by ignorant people that don't understand, and all of his thoughts are really carefully thought out, including things that I kind of think are immoral. But then he says that my thoughts are romantic notions. So it's like, yes, I change my world. I do. And if I was coming from a place where I could meet him as a scientist, I think
Yeah.
it'd probably be better. And I'm kind of working on cleaning up my language. It doesn't have to come from a scientific point of view, but it has
Right.
to come enough to be able to um, change my world for someone like him.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, why am I seeing him this way? Why am I seeing him so distracted? It's because of my distractions.
Right.
So I mean, I can't believe, but there's been a lot of evidence that that's been true lately. Um, and that's why I'm kind of reconsidering things. Almost feel like the issues that I don't work on personally, then I see the people around me working on those issues, and it's kind of painful because I never meant to make that happen to somebody else.
Right. 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 Right.
We can deconstruct, Janet.
Right. Mm. So no doubt what Janet has just pointed out is somehow connected to where chapter 14 leads into chapter 15. So Janet's pointing out that she's recognizing that her own habits are reflected in her outer world. She's seeing things in her outer world that reveal to her her own habit patterns. And then, you choose how we want to change our habit patterns based on what we now recognize about ourselves that maybe we weren't recognizing before. If nothing touches anything, right? We've already understood, okay, it's all these seeds ripening patterns. But when Nagarjuna says, look, nothing's but that mutual arising. What does Kachik say? What do we think chapter 15 is going to say? Anybody have a guess? I'm peeking at my notes. It doesn't help much. I'll give you a clue. What my list of chapters is that chapter 15 is the essence. Something about essence. If there's no subject-object interaction between, without subject-object interaction between happening, and chapter 15 is about essences. What do you think? Let's go there. Oh, it's
Emptiness?
perfect. Lama Christie calls it an analysis of the nature of things. Whoa, cool. Well, if nothing's anything without everything else, then what's the nature of anything? It seems circular, doesn't it? There is no nature to anything without everything else. Well, wait a minute. What comes first? The nature to something or the something that's arising? Maybe that's where he's going to go. Is the nature of something there before the something? Because if not, where does the something come from? Is this something there for an instant without having a nature and then the nature goes into it? That can't be.
Well, the ultimate nature and the self-existent nature.
Right.
But there is no self-existent nature.
Right.
Teacher, how about the emptiness of the gacha, the thing?
Right. That's what Janet
That-
just pointed out.
Yeah.
The self-existent thing. But wait, how can you have an emptiness of something that doesn't exist?
Well, it doesn't
It's
exist
not.
from your projections, technically.
It does exist from your projections. Is that what you just said?
That's the empty nature, the subtraction of your projection.
Right. But you know, the self-existent pen, like I'm holding up a self-existent pen right now, aren't I?
If I believe that it's coming towards me, that's self-existent.
Right, but that's a belief, that's not the thing. Is there such a thing as a self-existent thing? So am I holding a self-existent pen? No. Do I believe I am? Absolutely. Is there an emptiness of the self-existent pen that I believe is there? Yes. Is there an emptiness of a self-existent pen? No, because there's no such thing.
The lower schools, I don't have the school straight yet, but the lower schools believe, yes. The mind-only school does not.
Does not what?
Believe that the thing exists self-existently.
Right, no school believes in self-existent.
Oh, okay.
But to have a nature of its own, that is different. Self-existent means to exist independent of any other factor, any other factor. That's ridiculous. Okay? Everything depends on something. So no Buddhist school says self-existent. But the lower schools do believe that things have some nature of their own. And the extent to which they have some nature of their own gets more and more subtle, or the nature of their own that they have gets more and more subtle as you go up the schools. Right? They depend upon their causes, they depend upon their parts, they depend upon being the thing that gets my kunta. They depend on the magic show, 50-50. They depend on nothing but being seeds ripening, right? Being the object side. So back to the self-existent thing, the gacha, the thing that exists independent of any other factor. Is it empty? You can't have emptiness of a non-existent thing. You can't even talk about a non-existent thing. It doesn't exist. But we believe that things have their own natures. We believe they exist independent of any other factor. No, we don't. Do we? Do you believe this pen exists independent of any other factor? No, but do I act as if it does? Maybe. Get subtle. Yes, Roxana.
So here's where we play a little bit with the terms of name, term, and concept.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So that will help us get a more clear idea to understand the emptiness, right?
Exactly.
Of what is appearing to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Right.
Georgina.
From high school. Nothing
Right.
but name, term, concept.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Pauline.
Teacher, I think we should put it this way. Instead of saying non-existing thing, every existing thing, there is the emptiness of every existing thing.
Correct.
So the emptiness is an absence. So we need the gacha to identify. We need the gacha of to identify the existing thing. Because if you're talking about the emptiness of the existing thing is an absence, it's difficult to pinpoint. That's what I feel.
Right.
Yeah. So we are
We
not
need
saying
to,
that, yeah. So things does exist, but not in the way we think. And since
exactly.
things exist, and then because there's an emptiness in it, that's the reason why it has got potential and it can change. Yeah. So that's
Right.
the reason why I think, yeah.
Right. Right. Something needs to exist in order to be empty. And emptiness must be there when something exists.
Correct. And if
But
the
then,
existing thing is no more there, then there is no emptiness anymore. It cannot be like 50% or 70%. It's either
exactly.
when the existing thing is there, then there is the emptiness of the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, Tracy.
I think what was just shared kind of touched on where I was going, but I just wanted to, I struggle with this concept because I still see everything deceptively. And so when I'm seeing a pen, even though I get it, the logistics and the teachings, but then even the moment I start writing on the paper, like a second later, I still think that the pen is, thank goodness there's ink left in my pen.
Yeah.
And so when we touch on this, I I understand and I listen to you and I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense. But then I still can't understand the emptiness of the self-existing of the pen, because when both everybody leaves the room, there's still like potential, and so there's something about form. So what is it about the form, the potential, with the self-existing? So that's a part that I just can't really grasp. I don't know if you can help me with that. I understand, like, okay, well, it's the part we got to deny and then you got to look at it deeper or from its own side. So my brain thinks everything does self-exist, but
Mhm.
not in the way that I think it does or from its own side. Does that make sense? Or can you
It
help
does
me?
make sense. Yeah, because it's this level that we go through as we're learning how to live in the deconstruction, right? That we have seeds that are so colored with the belief in things have their own nature, and things that have shape and color have shape and color. And yeah, it's not the pen till I put pen on there, but shape and color That's the foundation. And so when we leave the thing on the table and everybody goes away and we go, what's there then? And we go like this, deep down, we're going, there's something with shape and color sitting there. It just doesn't have an identity yet, right? It's a level that we haven't gotten through yet of understanding that when we're looking at the shape and color, it's the same process happening of seeds ripening, identifying some more subtle information as shape and color. And then it, right, as we get familiar, it'll go deeper and deeper and deeper. But it's because of so many seeds colored with that belief that we can't just go, oh yeah, I get it, and then dive right into the ultimate understanding and stay there, right? We can peek at it and then we come out and it's like, no, I do believe our car is sitting in the carport, even though I can't see it right now. Yeah, I do believe it's there, right? It with its own nature.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because it's too scary to think of living in that free fall of nothing is anything until the seed ripens, right? Because we get this concept in our thought process that we would be in this floatingness in between ripenings. But that's actually impossible, right? There's never an instant where a seed is not ripening. And so even if we could have that experience of, you know, in the space between seeds ripening, let's call it that, that's still seeds ripening happening. And it wouldn't be so scary to identify in that like nebulous, indescribable space before. Which I don't know, I just am getting little glimpses of what it might be like to identify in that space. Like you'd never go anywhere, you'd never do anything different, but you'd never be anything but this outflow of, right? This outpouring of, I don't know. Why are we talking about that? Because this chapter 15 is about the natures of things. If everything is nothing but the three subject-object interaction between all happening together, then what's the nature of a subject versus an object? Why aren't they the same thing? And if the subject and the object are the same thing, how can there be an interaction between them? And if the subject and object and the interaction between them are all the same thing, what happens to karma? If karma is, right, the effect of what subject-object interaction is. Like if we're the subject and we're the object and we're the interaction all at the same time, like, how can anything happen? How can anything affect anything? And we should be thinking that. Come on, Nagarjuna, it can't be true that subjects aren't separate from objects. Is Nagarjuna going to say they are so separate? No, they are so not separate because they are mutually dependent. Does mutually dependent mean they're not separate? Can they be separate by projection and not be separate from their own side? Yeah, right. Pauline just caught it. That's the only way they can be separate is by projection. right? Yes, Tracy.
Okay. So there's so many things cracking in my head right now. My thing is where when we have this experience, we cannot be in the experience because we don't have access to a self while it's happening. And yet the self, in order to be that part of the subject observing the experience, what you're saying about the subject, the object, and the in between and how they're all connected, and yet there is no touching or connection. What's happening to me right now is I'm trying to think about, in order for me to see that experience, because that's the definition of a subject, is you have to be you have to have an object or form or something that's there, self-existing, but not in the way that I think. And then when the self looks at the object, I become a subject. And so we're trying to get to the end goal, which is the experience, but yet I can't bring myself there to be the subject to see the experience. And yet what Nagarjuna is talking about and deconstructing is making me feel more lost than I ever have been. And I'm more in kindergarten than ever in this moment. So like, how can that be that the subject, the object, all that, they have to be connected? But yet, I don't know if I'm making sense, but there's this part of me right now was like, well, when we meditate, in order to get to that experience, we have to have pratyahara, where we no longer are allowing our senses to be the driving force. But yet that's all this self knows, is the seeing and the hearing. No different than in this class. I'm
Right.
seeing you and I'm listening. So can you help me with my confusion, Lama?
No, the confusion is the practice, is the delving into it, because the confusion reveals our tenacious belief that things have to have some nature in them to establish what I'm experiencing. If they don't have their own nature, then what's there for me to experience, right? That's Mr. Kachik, belief in things with their own natures, speaking to our personal experience. If things don't exist in the way I think they do, then they can't exist at all. And that's impossible because I experience them. It can't be true that things don't have the natures I think they have, because I experience them, and that establishes them to be true. And he goes, go back to chapter 1, start again, right? Go step by step. At each place, our Kachik hears his conclusion, and we draw the conclusion, oh, doesn't exist at all. Wrong. Right? And that's what's so beautiful about this book, is he keeps addressing each way in which we misunderstand the conclusion of the chapter before. Even as we intellectually understand, yeah, oops, right? But so you're like, what you're describing, that struggle, you're right on track. Right? Keep going. Lama Christie calls it deconstructing. Keep deconstructing. Wait, if that's true, then what about this? It can't be. Right? It can't be. Yes, Roxana.
Thank you, dear Lama. For awareness purposes, is the word projection, appearances and experiences similar, synonymous, in order for me to kind of understand what we're talking about right now? When we're talking about projections,
Yeah.
can it be like an appearance as well?
Right.
Experience in order for for the understanding of the three spheres, of how I'm relating, how my karma is ripening?
It would be helpful.
Great.
I think it would be helpful.
Thank you. Just that I'm getting confused right now.
Right.
Thank you.
So then the looking at your teachers with emptiness only works if you look at yourself with emptiness and you're open to thinking in ways you probably wouldn't be willing to think.
Right.
And you almost have to trust it, but it's hard to trust it because anything could happen.
Right. You're right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you made two great points. To understand the emptiness of the teacher without understanding the emptiness of ourselves wouldn't be so helpful, would it? Because if we're not empty, then that implies that I am what I am and who I am. And, there's no reason to try to change because it's just not going to, right? It's not deep subconsciously, we're not willing to change. Like I came across that with a student recently, and then it's like, wait, I see in me, there are parts of me that I'm not willing to change. And it's like, okay, time to ditch that. So yeah, great point. So again, how did we get to chapter 15, looking at the natures of things, from chapter 14, where he actually pointed out everything is mutual dependence happening, not subjects and objects and interactions between all separate things, but every moment arisings happening, me shopping happening, me in class happening, like hyphenated all as a ripening, constant shape-shifting thing. And that by the end of chapter 14, he says everything is like that. And our Kachik goes, wait, there has to be a difference between a subject and an object. You can't say that they're one, all the same thing. They have to have their own natures. And here we are at chapter 15. It wouldn't be right for something's own nature to come from its causes and conditions, because any nature that came about through causes and conditions would be a fabricated thing. Fabricated is an interesting word. What do you think when you hear fabricated?
Made up.
Made up. Like it has the implication of made up for my own gain, or like to me it has a little bit of a selfish connotation. Fabricated, although we use the term fabricated like we want a shade structure to put over where the tree used to be. We need somebody to fabricate that shade structure, meaning take parts and put them together to make a whole. And that has no selfish component to it, no imaginary thing to it, just taking parts to come up with a finished project. That could be fabricated as well. But then fabricated can also mean you just fabricated that whole story like a lie, right? You just made it all up. So why do you think he says, like we must have said, it's not true, Nagarjuna, that the desire for the triple berry pie is simply a mutual arising of subject-object interaction between happening together. Because my desire for triple berry pie has its own nature. The triple berry pie has its own nature. I have my own nature. Yes, they all three come together to make this experience. But if they didn't have their own natures, what would be able to come together into the enjoyment of the triple berry pie? Come on. Things have to have some nature of their own. Do you see where we are? And the natures of their own come from their own causes and conditions. Yeah. But he's pointing out right at the very beginning, it's like, no, you can't say they come from their own causes and conditions. Because we have to establish that as being the case. Which means we've fabricated the causes and conditions that give that thing its nature. So a thing can have its own nature from its own causes and conditions that we put on it. It having that. Right? We do that when we plant a tomato seed to get a tomato plant, to get tomatoes. We have fabricated the causes and the conditions for the tomato seed to make a tomato plant. Did we do it by did we do it? What am I trying to say? Did we do it consciously and intentionally? Well, I did so. I put the seed in the ground. That was very conscious and intention. But that's not what made the tomato plant, right? Let's see where he goes. Right? We know the punchline. Fabricated thing means arising out of our seeds, but that's not what the word means. Yes, Tracy.
My question is in regards to change. If for example, if change is constant, and I heard you talking earlier about change and how do I change that? Since we're on the topic of essence and nature, my understanding is once we plant a seed, we can't pray over it to change what we planted. So how do we really have access to change our essence? Like if people can really change, and it seems to be a thing that I see a lot in my world where people are trying to change other people around them. So is it possible that we can actually change essence?
Well, it depends on what you mean by essence.
So when we're talking about ness, like there's no selfness of any quality or characteristic existing in the way that I thought there was. So when I think about emptiness of myself, I think about it as the emptiness of me, and it's like our true nature. And so if there's nowheres to go, nothing to do, we're already perfected, we're already Buddha, but we just can't see that in that way that we need to yet. And we talk about essence and changing. Is there really anything that we can actually change in the emptiness of our existence, of who we are? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, and it's not changeable, right? The emptiness is an unchanging thing. Yeah, and it is true that we are currently empty of self-existence. And when we perceive ourselves as Buddhas, we will still be empty of self-existence, but it is not true that we are already Buddha. Even when it's true that nothing really ever happens, right? We're always in the immediate now, that you can't find it either, right? And there is this constant appearance happening that's constantly shape-shifting, which is all empty of self-nature so that it can be the shape-shifting happening. And that essence of emptiness and dependent origination, Ra rising, appearances. The appearances are constantly changing. The emptiness of the appearances is not. It's an unchanging. It's unchanging. I don't even want to say it's an unchanging thing. It's unchanging. It is the unchanging nature of any appearance to lack being anything other than a ripening result of the experiencer's past experience, past reaction to experience. So our essences are unchangeable. When you say a ness, car-ness, unchanging thing.
Thank you. That's helpful.
And when I hear you say, we're all trying to change the people around us, it's like, I understand what you're saying, but the words mean there's somebody out there who's behaving in a way I don't like, and I want them to change. Even when we say, I'm going to change me so I can see them change, we're mistaken. Don't try to change anybody. Use what you see to know how to act and not act. We can't change anybody else. Which is how we can change our whole world.
Super helpful. Thank you.
Really important. I know I've said before, I read this brief article about a man who was an evangelical preacher, like a famous one. And he'd get up on his thing and, save people, right? Jesus is there to save you. I can save you. I can help you. Come to Jesus. You'll get saved. And he realized one day people don't want to get saved. People want to be loved. People just want to feel love and give love. And he quit his career as a famous preacher man. And he just goes around loving people. Now, what does that really mean, right? How do we really do it? It's a feeling, really, more than anything else. And it just helped me so much to think of that, because our tradition says stand on a billion planets and save people. It's like stand on a billion planets and love people. All right, you've got me. I'm signed up now. Right? The other was like inspiring, but my interaction with others is even when they say they want help. We really don't. We want to love, right? We want to love and be loved. Yes, Elsie.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The unchanging part is the projection of the ripening of our seeds. That is what doesn't change. Because it doesn't, I mean, the projection depends on the seed, the ripening of the seed that we have planted. So if, as we put it, I planted a tomato seed, therefore the ripening fruit is a tomato. So that is the unchanging factor in the whole thing, right? It is not unchanging because I cannot change a tomato into a cucumber, but it is unchanging because there's no way if I plant a bad seed, then I can convert the bad seed into a good projection. I mean, that's how I grasp
Right.
at unchanging part of it.
Right. The
I can
fact
that
that the fact that all existence is ripening results of all behavior is always true. It's always happening, is unchanging. The experiences are all changing constantly. Yeah, so the projections are the seeds ripening. And our experience is the happening, the results, right? So you're right. Just some fine tuning, right, of your description. The fact that the process is happening constantly is unchanging. But the process happening is never the same 2 moments in a row. That's constantly changing. The process is constantly changing. The fact that the process is what makes reality is unchanging. So Joanna, will you read to us 15.2, please?
Yes. The very phrase, fabricated nature, how could it ever come to be? Natures are natural, uncontrived. They don't depend on anything else.
So he's helping us dig into our definitions of words, right? How we're using words, what we believe a word means. Let's go on. Let's see what all of chapter 15 has to say. Maybe we'll be hanging out here for longer than I thought. Louisa, nice to have you. Would you like to read?
Give me one moment, Lama.
I'll come back to you. Janet, 15.3, please.
Now I can
Are you
read.
ready? Okay. Never mind, Janet. You're next.
So say something didn't have a nature. How could there then be something else? We only call it something else if in its nature it is something else.
Don't you love it? Dr. Seuss at play again. We'll come back. Let's just look at these verses and see. Now, Janet.
Apart from having a nature and apart from being something else than any other thing, how could there ever be a thing? It's when it has a nature, it's when it's unique in itself that you can have a thing.
Yeah? Okay. Pauline, please.
Okay. If a thing could never be, it could never not be there. When one thing changes to something else, then people say that thing has gone.
Ooh. All right, we'll come back. Tracy, please.
Those who believe in natures that make things different things, those who hold that there are things, and those who hold that there are not, are those who'll never see the truth as taught us by the Buddha.
Ah, fun. Poor Nagarjuna, he must be frustrated with us. Roxana.
Thank you, dear Lama. The conqueror fully understood a thing, and that thing's absence. And in his advices to Katyayana, he denied that things exist, and he denied that they do not exist. Dear Lama, can you later explain intrinsic nature, please?
When we say intrinsic nature, ignorance would say that what we mean is that it's a nature that something has, where the something brings it along. It doesn't rely on anything else for influence. So for instance, we would say that a beefsteak tomato seed is intrinsically a seed for a tomato plant that will make beefsteak tomatoes. Even when we understand it needs all those other factors to actually make the plant, to actually make the tomatoes, it has something intrinsic in it, inherent in it, that differentiates that tomato seed from a different kind of tomato seed, from an orange seed, from a horse, as something intrinsic. So we could say intrinsic could mean self-existent, because in science, we don't talk about self-existent iron atoms. We say an iron atom, right, is intrinsically iron because that's what makes it the element, right? The periodic tables, you've got things down to their intrinsic type, their intrinsic thing, meaning in it, from it, unique to it, intrinsic. Ultimately, what is intrinsic nature? The emptiness of things,
The emptiness.
right? And I like to make the case that it's not actually the emptiness only, it's the profound dependence, right? And I use that term to mean an appearance that's empty, right? Because you can't even talk about emptiness without having an appearance of something. Like that was his verse before. You can't not have something that doesn't exist, because it just doesn't exist. You can only not have something that did exist and now it doesn't. So when we say, oh, a thing's intrinsic nature is its emptiness, to me, it's like, no, its intrinsic nature is the fact that it is nothing but empty projection, right? Projections that are empty of self nature. It takes both. And my own premise is that's what this whole book is about, the both, not just the emptiness. Like the wisdom is understanding both. It takes both appearance and emptiness to have anything. But I haven't built my case strongly enough yet to say that what he's really pointing out, not just the empty nature of things.
Thank you, dear Holy Lama.
Where are we? Elsie, please.
If you learn, if something exists by nature, it couldn't no longer be, and a nature that changed to something else makes no sense at all.
If something existed by nature, it could no longer be, meaning it could never stop.
Hmm.
And it could never stop having a nature if it has a nature. We'll get back to it. Let's go backwards. Tracy.
Sorry. If something had no nature, what would be changing to something else? If something had a nature, how could it change into anything else?
I love that. Roxana.
If you say it exists, you believe it is unchanging. If you say it does not exist, then you believe it stopped. That's why the wise never remain in either existence or non-existence.
Yeah, that's a sweet one.
So is that the extreme remaining in the extremes when he taught that, the middle way, the Mahayana?
Yeah. Yeah. Things appear to start, stay, and stop, but they never actually do so, because what they are we talking about? Pauline.
A thing that existed by nature could never not exist, and so would be unchangeable. But to say what came before no longer exists now would be believing it had stopped.
Ah, all right, so now we have an overview of chapter 15. Let's go back. We still have a little bit of time. Why are we talking about the natures of things? Because the previous chapter just said there's only mutual arising. Why is it so hard to think, well, the nature of something is part of the mutual arising? Wouldn't that work? That's Tracy.
Is it because we need an other for anything, like planting seeds and arising seeds? So even though he says there is no other, there has to be another something that is existing so that we can deconstruct what we're actually looking at.
Yeah. Like, we do need others. We make others because we need others. Buddhas make others. We still will need others as Buddhas. Need is kind of a funny word, but every seed has subject-object interaction between, so every seed's gonna have. Every seed in, so every seed out. And it has to be that way. Because without an other, there's no self. Right? Tao Te Ching, the opening lines of the Tao Te Ching. I can't quote it now, but it's something like, because there's one, there's two, and because there's two, there's three, and because there's three, there's the myriad of things. And then it goes on to how to behave within the myriad of things. And right, without any of that, there's nothing. And that's where he's going to go, right? We're saying, wait, how can it be that everything depends upon it, everything else? Because then how could a pine tree be unique to its, how can a pine tree be different than a peach tree if it's only depending upon my seeds ripening? And I think that we're well trained enough to think, well, how else could a pine tree be different than a peach tree than by way of my knowing the difference, right? My making the difference. They could be the same thing. They could ripen as something completely different, but then the words would be wrong because they wouldn't be ripening as something different. Seeds would be ripening. Well, then how can there ever be any kind of consistency? How come my seeds, right, keep ripening this house over and over and over again? And I get fooled into thinking, well, then this house has some nature of being here, because here it is again, and here it is again, and here it is again. And it's not a log cabin and then a glass house by the beach, and then, right, it's always this home in this neighborhood, this mobile home in this mobile home neighborhood. And it's like it has to have some nature of its own. I have to have some nature of my own because I am not you. Right? Our Kachik, if we're being honest, goes from chapter 14 and says, no, right? Things have to have some nature of their own so that we can differentiate between things. So now see where his chapter 15 is trying to draw us. Is what nature is that? Is it from its causes and conditions? Like at some level, we say yes. The pine tree has causes and conditions that are different than a peach tree. But ultimately speaking, where do those differences come from? Exactly. Thank you for making pine trees and peach trees be different. So in what way are they fabricated things? Oh, I'm going to make a peach tree right there. Didn't work. Not fabricated in the sense of I take the pieces and put it together, but fabricated in the sense of I take information and make that into pine tree, and I take information and make that into peach tree. Right? My seed ripening is doing the fabricating. But fabricating takes stuff and makes it into something. So isn't the stuff that's being made into something what we could call that nature? That becomes the pine tree versus the peach tree? The happy me versus the upset me? Isn't there a nature of stuff that gets put together, that could get put together into that, fabricated into that? Things have to have some nature of their own, don't they? Can you feel it? And we've learned intellectually, you go looking for the nature that they have, we're not going to find what we think is there. So do they not have natures of their own at all? or are the natures of their own that we see in them things we fabricated? Technically, we fabricate them. Make them up because we want it that way? No, forced on us by ripening seeds, right? Yes, Tracy.
I love that you're talking about the peach tree and the pine tree. And I don't know if you've heard Geshe-la talk about the peach tree or the peach. And I wonder if you could touch on how can you apply what we're talking about to the difference of a peach. Once that's planted, it's like a continual karma that keeps going. I can't remember the word of that, whereas that makes that different than another type of tree. Does that make sense what I'm
Well, to see a peach tree is a ripening result that, it wouldn't really be accurate to say of having shown a peach tree to somebody else, but it has to, if the peach tree is a pleasant thing, the peach tree ripening is the ripening result in some similar way that we help somebody else experience something similarly pleasant. So we could say, a fruit tree, or we could say a peach tree. But technically, it's not accurate to say just because I showed somebody a peach tree, I'm seeing peach tree now. It could be anyway. But then to have a peach tree and be happy to have a peach tree, and then the series of seeds for the length of time it takes to experience that peach tree, we're using up those seeds. And then at any moment, the seeds for peach tree could be gone.
Mm.
And maybe at a given moment, we turn our back and we drive away. And that peach tree experience is gone. We have a memory of experiencing the peach tree that anytime we think of it, we're experiencing in the now ripening seeds of the memory of the peach tree. But it's not the experience of the peach tree. So you can't actually say that the peach tree is an ongoing karma.
Mm.
If we go back there and there is again a peach tree there, part of that those ripening seeds is, oh, that's the same peach tree. But you see, that's mistaken.
Mm.
It's not the same as it was before. And it's not technically even the same peach tree because you are so different than the way you were before.
Okay.
Right? So it is a constant stream,
Mm-hmm.
but the peach tree itself is never the same 2 moments in a row. And you yourself are never the same 2 moments in a row.
Mm. Thank you.
Yes, Roxana.
Just out of curiosity, dear Lama, yesterday you read 4 metaphors about the
Right.
king of concentration, about the related me. Do you think it will help those metaphors to kind of relate with what we're studying right now in chapter 15 to understand a little bit more?
Yep, I do.
Okay, great. And do we have them?
Do we have the 4 metaphors?
Yes, in the material. I haven't read it, to be honest. I haven't looked at it in the material that you sent.
It should be in the Mahamudra commentary reading.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And if not, it will end up coming out in the transcript because I read it in class, so it'll be in the transcript. Yeah, it's time out. We never even took a break. Man, we are investigators with a purpose. So we'll dig into chapter 15 again when we get back, which is November, what did I say, 5th? Yeah, let's play again on November 5th, shall we? And then after chapter 15, I don't know, we'll see if Tracy can pull some magic and get more chapters, in which case we'll carry on. And if not, once we finish chapter 15, that's all I've got for you. All right, little smatterings of other verses, but that won't help us investigate. So we can be thinking about what else we might want to do. Joanna said that the letter to a friend's been coming up in her mind, and Geshe-la has that rough translation of it. We could read it. I've not gotten teachings on it, but it's Nagarjuna. Or Nick has the String of Jewels. I haven't read that one either. Anyway, we can think about if we want to carry on as a group of investigators and investigate other stuff, or if you want to sleep in on Wednesday mornings, that'd be fine too. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help. We've gained insight through which we will help them stop their suffering forever someday. We won't change them. They will change themselves. And that's a great, great goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. Help me change for the better. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that other, to share it with everyone you love, to share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom, and may it be so. All right. Thank you, everyone.
So Roxana, oh, sorry.
Yes.
My Nay Lama has constantly telling me, if everything's a dream or an illusion, and you are, but he tells me he's real enough. So I think that was the warning of this chapter. You could go to those 4 things from Mahamudra, but if you stick to if you defend yourself and say, well, it says that king of the sutra of the Rajas says it's a dream, an illusion, and therefore, it doesn't matter. But my Nay Lama said he's real enough. He is a dream, but he's real enough. to address like why I'm projecting on him the way I am. And his concern is I'm doing it ignorantly. Like I don't know I'm doing it. That's his concern.
Yeah.
And then once I'm not ignorant about it, I'm just baffled.
Right.
Dear Lama, may you have a safe trip. May
Thank
you be
you.
well and enjoy Kuala Lumpur and everybody around you. Thank you, Janet, for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, have a
See you
wonderful,
soon.
wonderful trip.
See you soon, teacher. Been Penang.
Yes, hope so.
Colleen's so lucky.
Yeah. There have been some snags along
Elsie.
the way, but we'll see.
Love you, Lama. Take care,
All right.
please.
I love you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Stay
Bye-bye.
safe.
Nice to
Bye,
see you,
everybody.
Claire.
See you soon.